Hi, my name is Antonio Lopez Jr., and this is assignment 5 of CSC 300. For this assignment, we had to create the Battleship board game, and when you first begin the console, it will ask you if you want to manually place the ships or generate random places for the ships. And so I'll show the code after, but I'm going to run this and show you how it is. So we're going to enter 1 to manually place it. Then we have a decision of either making the ship horizontal or vertical, so we're going to go horizontal. The coordinate for this one, we'll put it at B7. And then for this one, we have to choose it again. Horizontal, vertical, we'll go vertical on this one. And we'll put this at I3. Again, horizontal, we'll go A1. Submarine, we'll go horizontal as well. Scroll up to see the grid, we'll go B10. And then our last ship, we'll go vertical, and we'll place it at J. Sorry, J8. Right. Okay. So here now we have our grids. We have 4 different grids. We have the computer grid, which is their defensive board, and then the attack board. And then same thing with the players. So here is we can check our placements. So for our carrier ship, we said it was at B7. If we go up, the carrier ship is at B7, and then for the battleship at I3. Oh, that's the computer. I3. Here we go. The B, and so on. And so we'll just run a little more. Let's say we want to attack the computer, but for the sake of the video, we'll just cheat here. So we'll choose A6. A6 is a hit, obviously, because there's a ship here. And so then we'll go again B6 to get this full ship. B6. That's another hit, and let's get our last hit here. C6. And here we say computer submarine ship has sunk. Right? So then we got a sunk. And now we see 3 hits on here. And now the computer defensive board is also 3 hits. And so if we keep on going, we'll just finish the game here. Right? Another hit. C5. Battleship is sunk. Yep. And we'll go A8. We'll go B8. That's a hit. That's a hit. Enter the updated grid now. C8. D8. E8. And there you go. The carrier now sunk, as we know. Update the grid. Carrier is now down. We go. He has 2 ships left, which is the destroyer at F7, and then the patrol boat at D10. So we're gonna go for this patrol boat here. So we're gonna put in D10, and we'll go E10 to finish it off. Patrol boat is now sunk, and here we go. Let's get the destroyer. So we're at F7. That's a hit. Continue. We'll go F8. F9. And the computer's destroyer is now sunk. And we enter for the period. And there we go. Since all of the ships are now sunk, the game is now over. And that's it. So if we run it again, just to show you the auto placement, it's essentially the same thing, just that you just get random generated ship coordinates. Right? And so that's basically it. That's the game there. But now to show the code, first we are creating our 4 grids here. And then afterwards we decide a choice to either to manually place the ship or to auto place the ship, and this is what this while loop is doing here and checking. And depending on our choice, this if statement is going to execute. So as we saw, if we were to choose 1, it would call the player setup, which allows us to manually place our ships, and then this else statement here just does the automatic placements. And moving a little down, copy grid is just a function that just copies the grid that you want to another empty grid. And so we're copying the computer attack grid with the player defense grid, and then we're setting up the defense grid for the computer on line 49. And so we keep going down, and here we have a bunch of variables, but basically this is just checking to see all the hit points or the health of the ships, and at each grid location, that is their health point. And so whenever there's a hit, this health point will go down, and um, whenever this health point is 0, it's gonna say it's sunk, as we saw earlier. And so basically, this while loop here is gonna run until there's not a win. So you saw the game kept on going until the game was over. So at the end, it will say that, but until then, it's going to call all of these system out, which basically just does all of the setup and stuff. And then here for this first for loop, it's cycling 3 times, meaning it's just doing our attack coordinates. It's just asking what coordinates do you want to attack on, and that's what all of this is doing. And then this massive if statement is just checking to see if the ship has sunk. That's all it's doing, just checking each time. And then another for loop here. It's doing the same thing. It's the attack coordinates, but instead it's doing it for the computer. So it's just randomly generating different attack coordinates throughout the game. And then same here with this massive if statement. It's just checking to see if the boats or if a ship has sunk or not. And then here coming down, this is pretty much the end of the main. And then after each, when everything has gone through before it finish, we always copy the grid over because we want to. That's just basically updating the grid. And then here we just have our system out that just says, end of turn, and then it just adds turn. And then before it ends, it's gonna check to see if this dub boolean, meaning if it's a win, and then this check dub is just another function, which I will get to in a bit. And then at the end of the game, it's just gonna print out the boards again and say game over. And so with this method here, it's just converting a character into a number or a coordinate. So as we know, on the grid, we are to choose a character. Sorry about that. We are to choose a character, and what this function does is it's just gonna return the character as a number so that it can compute the code. And then here our check dub is just a boolean that just checks to see if there is 17 hits, meaning all of the ships have been hit and there's no more ships on the grid anymore. Therefore, the hit count will be at 17 because there's 17 total spaces taken up by the ships. And so when a hit count, if it's the player or the computer that wins first, the hit count will go up. And so that's basically the code. Here I'm going to show you my grid class that creates the grid and does all that fun stuff. Here's the player setup, which basically tells us it's the method that allows us to put the ships at the coordinates we want, checking to see if the direction is horizontal or vertical. And then the auto setup is just randomly generating coordinates. This method here. It's basically the same as the player setup, but just with random variables or random numbers. Check valid. This is just basically checking to see if the spaces after are like available. So meaning if the ship is either out of bounds, it will tell you, or if a ship is overlapping another one, it's gonna say you're gonna have to redo it. This is what this boolean is checking to see here. And then this is just basically printing out the grid here on the same thing, converting the int. I have my node class, as well as my abstract ship class, and then my 5 boat classes that extend ship: the carrier, battleship, destroyer, and the submarine, and the patrol boat. And that is basically it. Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.